Hello, music nerds. This is Doug McCullough from Deep Tracks in Rock History, and I wanted to share with you a little something about the song "Creep" by Radiohead. Now, the reason why I want to do this is I'm excited about the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and of course, one of the things that's the best part of those movies are their soundtracks. And I decided to go and look and see what to expect for the soundtrack for this next Guardians of the Galaxy. And actually, as a lead up to the movie, I want to see if I can do a reel on just kind of the story and the music theory behind most of the songs on the soundtrack. I don't know if we'll get through all of them, but I noticed one of the songs that's slated to be in the movie is "Creep," an acoustic version actually of the song. Now, this is a great song by Radiohead, although I will admit I have a very complicated relationship with this song. It's actually my least favorite Radiohead song. Uh, Although, they never wrote a bad song, so saying it's your least favorite Radiohead song is like saying, it's like talking about your least favorite Beethoven symphony, right? Like he never wrote a bad symphony, he just got better and better. Although to answer that question, the least best Beethoven symphony would be Symphony Number One because it was basically a ripoff of Mozart. But that's okay. He could rip off because he was Bay freaking Toven. So anyway, talking about Radiohead with their song "Creep." At first, when it came out, I was a really big fan of Stone Temple Pilots at that time, and they also had a song called "Creep" that was on the radio. And initially I was like, this is my favorite Creep. I don't like this new Creep. What's this new Creep coming in? And I didn't really give it much of a chance. And then I heard the rest of Pablo Honey, and I realized, oh my gosh, these guys are amazing. And so I had to revisit Creep and really dive into it. And it's actually grown on me to the point where I do enjoy it. I really like the song now. It's still my least favorite Radiohead song, although in my defense, it's also, from what I've read, it's apparently their least favorite song as well. I remember Tom York did this interview for Rolling Stone where he was talking about the lyrics in the song, and he said they were crap. So it seems like even Radiohead is not completely satisfied with the song. I think they even stopped playing it in their live shows for a while. Maybe to this day they still don't play it. I don't know. I think they just got sick of it. But what I wanted to do is look at the chord progression because I think it's really interesting. This is one of my favorite things about Radiohead songs is their harmonies. They just do such a great job with their harmonies, finding very unique harmonies. But then not only unique for the sake of unique, but they just progress from one chord to the next in a very well thought out and very organic manner. So they sound both surprising, yet like there was no other. Even though you're surprised by the next chord, you're also at the same time you're like, yeah, there's no other chord that could have happened in this moment.
One thing that makes Creep unique is the chord progression. It's in the key of G, so if I play this G major chord, that's kind of my home chord for Creep. And normally, if you're in the key of G, the other chords that you would commonly go to would be, maybe a D major chord or a C major chord. Right, that's a very common chord progression in the key of G. Now, what they do in Creep though is they take this idea of the G chord, right, and they find this one note that's kind of this they call it a pivot note, and they use that to pivot into a chord that's not in the key of G. It's in a totally different key, and so it gives it a very unique sound to the music. So the music will be in, and I'm having to do this with one hand because I'm holding the phone with my other hand, but they do this. And then using this pivot note, which is it's the third of the chord of a G chord, they use that to pivot to a B major chord. But then also what's great about that is this note that they use to pivot, it also creates tension because it wants to resolve, it acts as a leading tone to the C chord. And then what's awesome is then they go from a C major chord to its parallel minor. So and so that's kind of the chord progression right there. It's in, starts out with a G major chord, goes to a B major, then C major, then to C minor, oops, then G major. And what's neat is this, even within C minor and B major, there's another pivot tone. So if I, once again, here's my G major chord, here's my pivot note from G major to B major. And so now watch my middle finger here. I'll briefly go up to C major, but then when I go to C minor, so this is once again that note that we got from B major, right? It's the third in B major, but it's also the third in C minor. And then of course from there we go back to G major. And going from that minor 4 chord, I know this is getting a little music theory-ish, but going from this minor 4 to this major 1, that's a very modal sound. It comes from like medieval modal harmony. So a lot of times film composers, when they're writing music for, it's supposed to sound like it's in a medieval age, they'll use that kind of a chord progression, a major 1 and a minor 4.